Hey folks, we are back with the third part of our Jurassic World Evolution 3 campaign. When we left off, we had just got to the point on Kauai where we were ready to head through to Montana and see what was going on with the Velociraptor outbreak. So join me as we jump in, we return to Montana, and we deal with the presence of Velociraptors in the area. This is a fun section. It was actually a lot longer than I expected, so these episodes are going to start to get a bit longer now. Again, we'll see how these go. They are quite time consuming, so if we're doing well with the playthrough, if people are enjoying these, then I will do more episodes of them. But equally, if there's not too many views on them, then we might not do a full playthrough. We will see how it goes. But as you can see, we are loading into the Badlands, one of the awesome maps that is present here in Jurassic World Evolution 3, and you really get to see a lot more of this map in this upcoming episode than beforehand. I had a lot of fun actually playing through the campaign today. I've done two separate recordings today, so I've recorded part 3 and part 4. And to give you an idea of timescales, I'm recording this on Saturday, the 18th of October. So here we go, the raptors have broken loose. Chaos is about to unfold.
Everyone, the Velociraptors. What are they doing?
The inevitable, their biological imperative, you know, they're hunting.
High alert, people. Finch, it's time to prove that Din cares about security.
Right, well, the guests and me.
You can see
need
you
somewhere to
sometimes
hide.
get
Build
terrain
an
problems
emergency
in the
shelter.
game still, where terrain clashes a little bit, but it's relatively easy to get past it. And you can see we've got several raptors out, so we need our containment teams to really go through and capture them.
Give the capture team the task to tranquilize those dinosaurs.
I thought it was cool at this time around it lets you automate it, so with the rangers you do it manually, but here you automate it, so it's just familiarizing new players with the fact that they can choose to do it themselves, or if they want to, they can automate. And you can see some of the cool signage that's available, some of the individual props that you can place down in the game. I'm sure we'll be spending lots of time with those after release in various different sandbox maps. Do let me know what you'd like to see sandbox content-wise in the comments down below. It would be really interesting to know what kind of content you guys would enjoy seeing from the game post-launch. Obviously, we might continue the campaign playthrough. Equally, if you guys aren't really that fazed by it, we could look at doing something else. So I do really value your input.
We better have an enclosure ready for when they do. We do have a half-built enclosure on site that'll probably do the job, if you can, you know, finish it up.
So here we are getting containment ready for our raptors.
We should power those fences with a generator. If an animal tries to escape, it could hurt itself or even your guests. A light shock, however, will act as a gentle deterrent.
Now, I always put down a couple of generators just in case.
Justifiably nervous, but I'm telling you,
you can see I was really pushing it here, trying to get it outside of the terrain constraints. I don't think I managed to in the end. I think, yeah, I ended up deciding to move it somewhere where I knew it would definitely fit instead.
Making sure that the generators are in range of a maintenance post so our maintenance team can keep an eye on them. When the enclosure is ready, give the order to transport those
Okay, so here we go, we're
meat eaters
transporting.
I'll leave it in your capable hands, okay? Take as long as you need, but not too long. Even sleeping
It is cool
carnivores
that
make
they
me
made the
nervous.
4 different raptors different colours as well, a bit like the Raptor Squad. I just thought that was a nice little touch from Frontier here as well. What I really love, and you'll see this throughout, is we really get a sense for dinosaurs in the wild throughout this campaign, especially in part 4. Some of the scenarios that they set up are really, really cool.
It's strange, isn't it? Alan and Ellie had a dig site near here in this scenic patch of Montana's Badlands. You know, they were digging for fossilized dinosaurs, and now you're containing living, breathing, thinking dinosaurs a mere stone's throw away. Wow, it's really, it's poetic in a vague sort of sense. And deeply terrifying in a more
I love
specific sort of
Malcolm so
sense.
much. Like his inclusion, when we got that little line of him reflecting on Alan and Ellie, I think I'm actually deliberately paused here in the gameplay because I was like, I need to make sure I remember to talk about this. But it's just a really fun piece of connective tissue. And I know I said it in our last episode, but whoever at Frontier has written the dialogue for Malcolm has absolutely nailed it. Like you can tell they've looked at some of his language, his pronunciations, his the way he enunciates certain sentences, and they've really drafted dialogue that feels so Malcolm-esque. And just getting that reference to Ellie and Alan makes me wonder
sure
if
to
they
close
might
any
pop up
shelters
somewhere
once
as
you've
well.
dealt with the threat. After all, guests aren't likely to spend money while they're busy hunkering down. Although a bunker gift shop is
I
a
love
bad
the idea
idea.
of a bunker gift shop as well. That is very Cabot.
Nice job dealing with those raptors. Vicious and intelligent carnivores don't tend to mix well with guests.
Vicious and intelligent they may be, but those velociraptors deserve as much support as any other dinosaur. A feeder that gives them an outlet for their hunting instinct would be particularly beneficial.
Better the goats than us, is what
I'd
you mean
love
to
either
say.
Mattel or Lego to do some evolution-inspired toy lines as well. Like getting some of the dinosaurs from Evolution specifically in the Hammond collection would be really cool. And equally, some of the human characters, like I would pay so much money for a Hammond collection 2-back of Cabot Finch and Cabot Jr. I just feel like that would be awesome. It will never happen because there's complications with licensing there. Because obviously Frontier have certain licenses around the characters and things, and Universal have got the overall licensing. But it would be so
Now
cool.
that they're enclosed, those raptors will actually be boosting the site's appeal. And more appeal means more guests.
You can see
so
my
it's
brain
good
still
news in my
struggling
book.
to process the different
Guests will
menus.
actually need to
There
be
is
able to
a lot
see
packed
the
in, and I
raptors
think
to be
when you
impressed
haven't
by
played
them,
for a
but,
while, especially
that's why we build viewing
I haven't played
galleries,
Evolution
right?
2 for a
Huh?
while.
Huh?
It does take a little
Dinosaur
while to kind of
appeal is
refamiliarize
great,
yourself.
but dinosaur
You can see something
visibility
interesting I
is what
noticed
will
is I
actually
couldn't
sell
replace the
tickets.
texture on that little
Improving
piece of
visibility
path.
with
So
attractions
the little
like the
piece that
viewing
was
gallery
connecting
is an
the
important step if we actually
visitors
wanna make a
sort of
profit here.
thing. I could
And you
change it a
wanna make
bit,
a
but not to the
profit,
colour
right?
I wanted, so I ended up giving up with it.
I'd rather like to revisit our Corythosaurus. They needed males in the herd to thrive, and thanks to Dr. Baldera, that's exactly what we can provide them with. We just need enough genomes
I thought this
to
was
begin
cool.
synthesis.
I
We
assume
will
this
need
is
an
going to kind of
expedition
continue,
centre
which
to
is you go
organise
to
gathering
other
the appropriate
locations,
genetic
you
material.
learn how to do different
Then, once
things,
we have
and then
processed
you
the
bring that
fossils in the
back
science
to
centre,
the
we can
Badlands,
synthesise the
and you
males
continue
in
to
a
develop the
hatchery.
park in the Badlands, which is kind of how previous Evolution games have worked towards showing you how to get 5 stars. It's kind of it's almost a really subtle way of showing you, look, you learn how to do all of these different things, and then eventually you'll get to the point where you combine all of these different things and it creates a park that's got a 5-star appeal. So I thought that was really cool. Or it's a cool way of doing it throughout the campaign at least.
Getting the generator back up.
I spent so long trying. This is my problem. I tried to squeeze buildings in anywhere. This expedition center was very clearly not fitting here, but I gave it my best shot. I really tried. And then you can see my brain suddenly goes, oh, it fits here. Does it? No, it doesn't. So then I end up taking it somewhere else, I think. I give it a really good go though. It's interesting because sometimes you can fit it slightly over the path now, but a lot of the time you can't, so you just have to be really careful of that. But you can see that's in relatively close proximity and it fit. So I do think overall the way the terrain constraints are nowhere near as restrictive as they were in the previous games. What I have found sometimes is if you're in a space that's really clearly obvious, so there's like nothing anywhere, and it still says to you you can't fit the object you're placing there, sometimes you have to just tap the key or tap the button on the controller a couple of times, and then eventually it will place it anyway. It just, for whatever reason, doesn't do it the first time. So you can see again the expedition map like we're used to with lots of different animals. I was kind of looking at what was the best option here, and then obviously found Coryphosaurus, which we needed to get. But it's useful to have different options available, because what you'll see later in this gameplay is I think quite carefully about the additional dinosaurs I want to add to this park and the appeal that they bring. So again, while we're waiting for that synthesis to happen, I wanted to take the opportunity to look at the raptors. The raptors are nothing new. We've seen Velociraptors in Evolution before, but they do look good in the engine on the new maps as well. And I just think this entire map is really beautiful. I think at this point, actually, I was looking around, and while I was recording, my dad had walked into the room, and I was like, look at this. This is absolutely awesome. And it's really nice because he's the kind of person who grew up with Atari and those kinds of games consoles. So when he sees what game consoles are able to do now, he finds it really interesting. So that was quite nice. Selling our minerals, keeping that space. Getting some good shots in, looking at the scenery props. I really like the amount of scenery props that are in this game. I'm quite excited to play with them.
We are so close to providing those animals with what they need. Keep up your excellent work.
So we're putting in our Coryphosaurus, getting it ready to go. One thing I would remind you of that I only remembered later in this gameplay session, but is really useful, is the sooner you get a staff centre down, the sooner you unlock scientists with higher rankings across the different areas of specialism. So that can be really useful for A, avoiding scientist burnout, but also B, doing things quicker as well. So we have our Coryphosaurus incubating. I go to make sure that there is a drop-off zone, but I remember there's already one in the paddock because they are with the Lokiceratops. So we are all good to go there. Just taking a look at the models again, there's so much detail packed in this time around. I mean, Frontier's always been great with their modelling and the scenery assets, but it's just at another level with this game. And again, I'm recording this pre-launch, so this is before people have even had the chance to upload blueprints and share other bits and pieces on the Frontier sort of portal. But once they're able to do that, it's just going to massively add to the overall value of the game. Like, I genuinely can't wait to see what some of the other creators in the community who are incredibly talented decide to put out. It's going to really revolutionize parks, and you can see again here just a completely different kind of environment than we've seen before in an Evolution game, which is quite cool. The most similar one is Southern USA in Jurassic World Evolution 2, but obviously that's in the canyon, and here Montana feels very, very different. I do love the use of the classic cage design as well. You can imagine one of those cages getting accidentally dropped in a city or something, and that being the chaotic start to a new Jurassic World film. Here we have our Coryphosaurus. Welcome to the park, boys. Beautiful looking crest with the striping on it. Really, really nice dinosaurs.
You did it. They're happy. They're thriving, and it's all thanks to your hard work. Well done. With males in the herd, we are only a well-placed nest away from helping these animals start a
So
new
what you'll see
lineage.
with this mission
not an
particularly, but
objective
also
right
the next
set,
part,
but
part
I
4
will
as well,
always support
is a
breeding
really big
dinosaurs
focus
wherever
of this
possible.
game, is getting you to breed animals. Which kind of makes
We've
sense,
done
you
a
know, it kind of comes
fantastic
back
job taking
to
care of the
the fact
dinosaurs
that a
so far, and
well-integrated
that's great.
species
Really
should be able
great.
to breed and
But
sustain itself
maybe it's time
naturally.
we take
And
as
I
much care
really
of our
like how
bottom
this
line,
almost feels like it
You see, our
parallels a lot
guests
of
need
the
caring for just as much as
breeding
our
programs
animals.
that you see
They need
in sort of
hotels to sleep
zoos and
in,
protective environments, you
restrooms to
know,
answer
the
nature's
Big
call.
Cat Sanctuary, which is
A
local to me in
comfortable
Kent,
site
is a really
draws
good
in more
example.
guests. And I'm
These
very
are
much a
places
people
which are all about
person.
conservation,
I'm especially
and
a
part of
people
that
with spending
conservation
money
mission
person.
is making sure that these populations can thrive naturally, that we're not having to do things to encourage these populations to exist. So I think Frontier are doing a really good job layering that into the campaign. And it's something that gets me quite excited for Sandbox. I'm really looking forward to building some proper conservation parks in the Sandbox mode that kind of really lean into that campaign theme. You can see there me giving up with where I was trying to place the hotel and deciding it's much better to place it somewhere that there's actually space for it. Who would have thought you should actually place the objects where there's space for them, right? Like, clearly I didn't.
Looking good so far. FYI, we've got number crunchers behind the scenes collecting info on the site's appeal, how guests are feeling, and my favorite bit, our amenity sales. Take a look. Ooh, those amenity sales.
So that's
could
quite a
be
nice
lot
simple
less
introduction
red.
to some of the management
How sites
menus
like
as
this one make
well.
money
And
is
obviously
pretty
if you're looking
straightforward.
for a 5-star park,
See, if
they're
we have
really useful
incredible
to just keep
animals on
track
site
of.
and the guests can see them, then we'll sell plenty of entry tickets. And as long as we keep our guests comfortable and make sure they approve of what we're doing, we'll sell even more entry tickets. That's when we hit them with some excellent food, drinks, and shopping amenities to really bump up our income. As we seem to be lacking in the amenities department right now, we should really get that fixed. You know, I created DIN to support dinosaurs and bring people joy. And there's nothing more joyful than good food, good drinks,
I relate to that. I
and
think reasonably priced merchandise is the biggest
Think of the
joy of
site's
all time.
profits as a measurement of joy. Building amenities near popular attractions will make profits go up, and
So I have to
needless
admit,
say,
these management
that's the
menus as
direction
well
that
for the
profits
shops
should
feel
be
a bit
going
more
in.
intuitive than the
You
second
can
game.
kit out amenities
It's a lot
however you
easier
like,
to
but
kind of
you're not
see
shooting in the
what the
dark.
changes you're
Our
making are
data
doing
geniuses
overall,
will show you
especially
in
with
real
that
time
guest
how
satisfaction
different products
figure.
or features will
So I
impact
found
guest
this quite
satisfaction,
easy to work with in
and how
contrast
that
to what we had
equals more
before.
profit. You're not going to believe what I found. Well, okay, my
So this
lawyers
next
pointed it
section
out
isn't
me,
going to
but
be a
same
surprise
thing.
to anyone who has played
have
an
more land
evolution
than I
campaign.
I
But
trust it'll
on
be
these
put to
larger
good
maps,
use.
you unlock terrain in
Wink, wink. More
increments.
dinosaurs
So
and more
here we
revenue.
go. We're
Wink,
about
wink.
to unlock the next increment. And we have now unlocked it. So you can see a small sliver of land, I'd say enough to build 2
While this particular
paddocks.
site is owned
So
by
you're
Mr.
going to kind of
Finch,
see what I
thought
start
it
to do
best
with
to
this
still define
territory
some
over the next
specific
20 minutes or
targets to work
so.
towards.
Yeah. Big ambitions for the Badlands, it has to be said.
Remember, satisfying these goals will
So the
define
thing
the
I
site's
immediately tried
overall
to do was
park
place
rating.
the fences down
Our
in the
park ratings
rocks.
prove that we can
Now it was
manage
quite hard
sites
to do
and make
that, but if
clients
I
happy,
explain that,
which helps me
basically
expand DIN
some of the rock
globally.
elements that you get, especially the scenery parts, you can put them over the top of rocks
cannot
and then they
believe the
act as
momentum
a
that DIN has
kind of
suddenly
natural
gained.
barrier
Kira, you've
that
been
is
talking
really,
to
really
potential
useful
clients, right?
for
Any,
kind of
good
making
news?
your
close
paddocks
to
look a lot
securing
more
a new site
natural.
now.
So it
Follow
basically
my
takes
advice
away
on
the
increasing our
necessity for
reputation
your
and
park
park
to be
ratings, and our
entirely
proposition will be
surrounded by a
irresistible.
fence, because you can maybe fence off one portion of it and then the rest of it you can give the appearance of something much more natural. So you can see the way to do that is really go into the scenery pieces, not use the massive size rock like I was about to there, but actually find the bits of rocks which work best for the fencing you've got, set it up in a way that is gonna kind of hit the end of the fencing so there's no gap for a dinosaur to squeeze through. You can see sometimes it's going to go through it and phase through it a little bit. So you definitely want to balance it a bit so it looks a bit more natural. But you can then build up your rockery a bit to try and make it look a bit better as well.
On that topic, your reputation with the conservation
So there you go.
would only improve if we had more.
It's all placed in. It looks quite good, quite natural. I think I drop this in, or I end up not dropping it in, because the rocks will phase through trees. So that's just something to be mindful of. But you can see there, it's entirely self-enclosed now. All I need to do is put power down, and then I'm going to be able to actually power up the fencing and have a functional paddock that is half buried in those rock faces. And that's one of the biggest things I'd say you should absolutely do in sandbox mode, especially. Really play around with the scenery, with the landscaping tools, and see how you can create paddocks that are much more naturalistic feeling, because it's a really cool feeling when you create something that kind of blends into the environment. And I think just that ability alone, it sounds weird, but the lack of collision and the ability to have phasing objects already adds so much more to this game than we had in Evolution 2. So I think it was a really sensible decision by Frontier to give you that kind of collision toggle ability. So you can see running my fencing, or not my fencing even, my path straight down the middle. I love the way this little rock piece has been set up, so I didn't want to ruin it. I just thought I'd leave it as it was. At least for now, you're going to see me ruin it in a minute, and I absolutely take away some of the natural beauty of the map. But for now, at least, we're looking good. I kind of know that I want this to be a Compsognathus paddock, so I put a gate down. I start to put a few of the things in. I remember that the Compsognathus likes meat as opposed to prey, so I put a meat feeder down and just start to get the paddock ready for the compies, because I know that that's my longer goal here. I eventually want the compies. And you can see I got quite lucky off the bat and got enough to get the full genome straight away. Also got some decent bits of rock that I was able to sell. So quite a nice outcome straight off the bat. And this is where I think Evolution, if you've played it before, you naturally fall into a rhythm, which is between different objectives. A lot of it is just management, and by management, that is things like completing contracts, it's maximizing your guest utilities, implementing transport systems, researching new things that are going to improve your park. It's all of the things that you'd normally expect, really. So here you can see it's time to ruin some of the natural landscape. I did try initially to build around it, but I discovered quite quickly that the fencing or the angle of the actual rockery was too steep for fences, so I knew I needed to flatten it. The goal with this, spoilers, was to create a Dilophosaur paddock, but I actually never got that far because we ended up moving to another location before I put them in. But you can see me kind of getting ready to prepare them. I love the way the textures shift as well, so you've got that kind of almost dry riverbed texture and some other bits and pieces. I thought this was cool, that it also gives you little pop-ups and things where you can choose to get rid of a scientist for a set period of time, but it's going to give you some money. That's quite a cool addition that I like. And again, here you can see that rock is a scenery piece, so I tried to place it down inside, but I couldn't. So I then decided to do the exact same thing as before, where I'm going to create this nice wide paddock. Again, in the case of some scenery, it just naturally moves out the way, which is ideal. I know I've got a perimeter line here that eventually I'll be able to build around, so that's fine. And what I do is bring my fence up to there. I then know that I want to put scenery pieces down again to end cap it, so I proceed to do that with some of the rocks. And it's just a really nice way of keeping your fences nice and enclosed without actually making it a full circle, and it just keeps it a little bit more visually interesting. Like I see, you know, we're able to preserve some of the texture rather than demolishing it, which was really what I wanted, as you can see there as well. So I have to admit, I didn't play campaign at first. I immediately jumped into sandbox mode, and I spent a lot of time playing sandbox mode, and that has really helped with getting myself familiar with the way the new terrain tools are working, the new scenery pieces are working, which has then fed nicely back into campaign. So I would say if you're a competent Evolution player, if you've played Evolution 1 and Evolution 2, you can jump straight into sandbox mode. You don't necessarily have to play the campaign. But I would say if you're new to Evolution, or if you want to remind yourself how some of the things work, then the campaign is a really useful way for you to do that. So it's something to keep in mind. I'm pretty excited to see how as we go on. I don't know why I placed 2 viewing galleries here. You'll see me get confused in a second and decide to delete the other one. Not quite sure what happened there. I think I forgot I put the first one down. You can see in my brain in a second, I've like gone away, done something else. I think I get the compies ready yet. I'm like, okay, need the compies. They're going. I kind of look at some other stuff, then I come back here and I'm like, oh, why is there another viewing gallery here? But I think in my brain I thought I'd put down a power generator. So I then proceed to put down another power generator just to keep it all safe. And that is something I have been doing on this campaign run through. I'm deliberately not researching the power stations yet. What I've kind of been doing is running a lot of power generators, but putting way more power generators in than I need. Just to kind of try and keep it interesting. Now you can see with the maintenance tools, anything that's out of maintenance range is going to be red. So that's just really useful to note with your maintenance teams, because it means you can notice anything that isn't going to be repaired automatically and put down additional maintenance posts to make sure it's within that radius. I haven't realised that here, as you can tell. And I haven't played on this map again since, so we're going to see if that causes some chaos next time I'm on it, because I'm sure it will. Again, you can see here all of the usual terrain tools. Like I've sort of said throughout so far, I do find it all a lot more intuitive this time around. Whether that's because it's so similar to Evolution 2 that I've picked a lot of it up, I don't know. But I think it has been easy to just get a lot of this going. And get it going quite quickly, which is nice. So I've set up my new maintenance parks, or my maintenance posts. Compies are doing okay. I don't realise that I need to do something else there, which upsets me massively. I feel like I am clearly not the most efficient player. Like if you want to see somebody who knows what they're doing, don't watch my videos. If you want to watch somebody who's moderately competent, continue watching my videos. But here we're just going to smooth things out. We're going to make some more terrain. Get ready to place something else down. So we're putting in a additional response facility. I always try and keep ahead of these. I think it's good to put a lot of resources in quickly, and you'll see in part 4 why that's a good thing, because I have a breakout in part 4 and I was playing on 3 times the speed, so it means the breakouts happen really quickly. But if you have everything automated and you have an oversaturation of capture teams, you're able to contain things quite quickly. So that's what happens in that park in the end. So we are getting ready for our compies now. I don't think I've realised yet that, there we go. This is me going, oh, I need to do something else. So I start to incubate them. And we have a minute 30 or so to wait for the compies. Now I could have sped it up here, but I decided not to. I just decided to look around the park and make sure that everything was nice and functional. I think it's quite nice to just spend some time looking at things now and then. At this point, I thought it was a good opportunity to get a new scientist as well. And I think one thing that I'm going to do here, if I remember correctly, is research the staff centre. which is one of the most useful things that you can research. So the staff center gives you scientists who have got higher levels across the 3 different areas, but it also lets you rest your scientists, so it stops them from getting exhausted. And that's quite important, because if they're exhausted, they can get disgruntled, they can sabotage the park. So it's something to keep in mind. Can see restroom coverage is all good. Emergency bunkers, though, we need one up here. I tried to place it in front of the gate. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but we eventually get it in a good position. I hope you guys are enjoying this playthrough. I've never really committed to doing playthroughs so far, and as I was explaining in previous videos, it is quite an intensive production process for me. Just because where I play on console, with the way I play, I don't record this portion at the same time. It is the gameplay and then this portion. But if it is something people are engaging with and they're enjoying, it's absolutely something I'm willing to keep doing.
Boy, wouldn't that be
So we have our staff center. Very happy about that. And I think we're going to place one down. I spent absolutely ages trying to place it here. I have no idea why it was telling me there were terrain constraints, but apparently there were. I tried to place it again, no joy. I think eventually, yeah, I decide that it's better to put it somewhere else. So we're going to put it down here and wire up a pavement. And there we go. And one of the first things I want to do is rest one of my scientists who's close to burning out. And you'll see that takes the scientist out of the equation for 4 minutes. So if you do it, it's worth recruiting more scientists and making sure you've got your maximum number just from a management perspective, so you can manage people in and out. When you put people into recovery, you have other staff who can cover what they're doing. So our Compsognathus are ready to go. Here we go. We're getting closer to that 2.5 star park that we want. And you can see there's other dinosaurs we can research. So this is where I start to research the aforementioned Dilophosaurus. Always a hit in the parks. It was available quite early in Evolution 2 as well. So cool to see that consistent theme of the Dilo being one of the dinosaurs that you can unlock fairly early. Got our hatch of compies on their way out. Just looking around the park, really appreciating all of this landscape. Going into capture mode to get the thumbnail for this video. There you go, you can see the behind the scenes there. It is interesting because capture mode, I think, sometimes smooths a lot of the detail, and you saw that there is when I pop back into the actual gameplay, there's so much more texture on the rocks and things. I think that's probably just the case of me playing on Xbox though, because playing on PC, capture mode is very different. Capture mode actually has a automatic depth of field kind of filter almost on PC, which I noticed when I played at the Frontier event. So if anyone has recommendations on PCs that would streamline my recording process, do leave them in the comments. So just getting the compies paddock ready. Again, I've raved about it on 2 episodes. I'm not going to do it on a 3rd. But I do think that the functionality of the habitat tools in terms of showing you exactly what different animals need is so useful. So we've got our happy Compsognathus, that's got us to our 2.5 stars. Now we just need to finish this contract and we are going to be there. Going to get some more compies as well. And I think in a moment you're going to see me realize that I've only placed one amenity. I could place more, and then I'm quite easily going to make some money. So that is something that, again, I realized quite late in the game. But it is really useful to just place down your amenities and make sure that you're maximizing the amount of money that you're getting from the guests in your park. Just because a lot of the contracts, especially, can be quite income per minute focused. So if you're constantly pushing that upwards, you're constantly putting yourself in a good position to actually hit those contracts, get extra money, push your game forward further. It's a really good management strategy to adopt. So we're going to get our additional compies. And then this is the moment where I realised that, like I say, I should have absolutely placed more amenities. Now, I have an absolute fail, and I start by placing a second shop next to the first one. Not a good idea. Ideally, you're going to want each different type of amenity. So I very quickly moved back to putting down some food. And you can see there's immediate demand for that. Putting down some drinks, so we've got all our kind of amenities in one place. And then I think I go into playing with maximizing them as well. And this is a great way to just really quickly up your income. If you're able to get the features as close to 100% satisfied as you can, you're going to maximize those profit margins. And again, it makes me sound really business minded, but it just helps you to really get the money that you need to build your parks in campaign. I don't know how I saw 92% satisfied on the other one and didn't select that. I should have selected that. So that is something that I need to go back and improve in this park. But you can see we are pretty much at the 145,000 now. I think it updates and there we are.
I have some rather incredible news. Dr. Baldera will be joining DIN full-time, and with his breeding expertise and our brilliant park management skills, the sector representatives have offered their support as well. There is just one uncharacteristically quiet voice left. Dr. Malcolm?
I'm sure this is going to shock you, but I'm still skeptical. I mean, what you've done here is impressive, but, haven't we walked this path of good intentions before? At the same time, I'm nothing if not wildly curious, and if there's one thing that ambitious projects need, it's a voice of reason. So, here I am.
Well,
So there we go, guys.
like
That is pretty much part 3.
on board. Din has hope, and I
You'll
won't
see
have to
where we're
sleep in
heading
my
to in a
nephew's
second.
basement. Fantastic. All right, don't keep me waiting. Where are we heading
So
next?
next up, we are heading across to Vegas. So do make sure to join us for that episode. You can see Clark County. It is a Pteranodon focused episode or a pterosaur focused episode. So a little bit different to what we've done so far, which is quite cool. And it's a really unique environment for a park again as well. So I hope you guys are enjoying our playthroughs. Make sure to like, favourite and subscribe if you are. And we will see you for an extra long episode next week as we tackle part 4 of our Let's Play.